What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the RGR football channel. My name is Daniel Harms, lead film analyst here, and today we are going to talk through the Chiefs' second round draft pick, Rashee Rice, wide receiver out of SMU.
The Detroit Lions have traded the 55th pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. With that pick in the 2002-03 draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Rashee Rice, wide receiver, SMU.
You and we know that the Chiefs traded up, as we saw, or we heard, from that opening statement on the show here. What I want to see from everybody is hit that like real quick. All the draft content, everything that Ryan and I have pumped into this channel were put on display over the weekend, and we'd love to get you guys' support in these likes to get out to more Chiefs fans. So let's go ahead and hit that like real quick, and then we'll talk right now about the 6'1" receiver. He's probably a little bit under 6'1" that he measured in at, and he's about 204 pounds, 32 3/4 inch arms, just 9.5 hands, under 10-inch hands. He gets comped a lot to DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins had longer arms, bigger hands. He was 6'1", 214 pounds, and not the athlete that Rashee Rice came in as. Now, he didn't do his bench press or the three-cone or 20-yard shuttle at the combine, but he did come back into them in his pro day, which we'll get to in a second here. But what we see here is that 1-4-9 10-yard split. So he does show the ability to at least accelerate off the line. That's really inconsistent. He ran that 4.51, and that shows up. He's not the biggest deep threat in the world, but the athlete, the athleticism, the vertical jump, and the broad jump are both really good numbers. And the broad can be a little bit better, but vertical 41 inches. The guy is an absolute athlete. And now, when I'm watching him, I was getting a feeling for the player that he is, and I have an interesting comp, at least in terms of wide receiver play. He's not the returner that this guy was, but I see a lot of stylistic things that match up with Jeremy Maclin when he came out of Missouri. He's a little bit more of a leggy player, both 6 foot, just over 6 foot, 6 pounds difference. Their shuttles and their three cones were relatively similar, you see there, but obviously Rashee Rice has the other numbers in his favor. He ran better in terms of the 20-yard split. In the 10-yard split, he had a better vertical and a better broad jump. Neither of them did their benches, but from their route running ability, they look relatively similar. And what this translates to is their yak potential as well. I think Rashee Rice is a bit different in that regard of what he can do. He's a little more physical after the catch than Jeremy Maclin was. Jeremy was much more silky smooth after the catch, and we saw that when he was able to return when he was a Philadelphia Eagle. But I do think that some of their stylistic route running at times, like when Rashee actually hits his routes right, he does tend to look that way, in my opinion. But maybe it's just the frame and the body type. But let's go ahead and get into the tape. And what I love about watching Rashee Rice, well, really, there's a few things that I love about watching him, and it's because what he does offer are two things that we heard Brett Veach mention today in his press conference about Rashee Rice: the yak ability and the going to get the football. This very first play, there's nothing too crazy. You're just going to see a leggy out route where he's trying to time up the route with the guys out to his left. He's in that reduced split, but he's keeping his head on a swivel here. And what I mean by that is that when you watch him out of his route, watch when he gets over to that left-hand side. He's looking at the quarterback, then he's looking for the depth of the defender, depth of the defender, depth of the defender, and then he attacks the football in the air and makes the first man miss, all right? That's what he does a lot. The awareness that he has that's built in to his frame and to his stature really allows him to do some different things that you don't see a lot of guys who are more of a contested catch player. And like I said, he makes that first man miss. But what I want to see here is how he adjusts his body to get into that yak position right here, okay? So he has a lot of experience with all of this because he plays with, quarterback play at SMU that's not great. So he has extension here. He's got 5 coming downhill here, but instead what he does is he uses the fact that this ball is put out in front of him here. Again, you see the extension, always attacking the football with his hands. These are two things that he does really well: extension, attack with his hands. But he's going to use the momentum of attacking that football, and he's going to go underneath this defender here. That's what I like about Rashee Rice, is he does this a lot where he will transition his catches into his yak. So he's able to make that first man miss an awful lot because he does that nearly every single time. We get to see Rashee Rice a little bit more down the field here as he's working his way. But one of the things that I like about him a lot is that he's already lining up everywhere at SMU. He lined up on the outside. He lined up in the slot. He lined up in a reduced split. He has all that, slot Y or slot Z and X positioning all figured out to an extent already. And this route, he's going to sell the vertical. So watch his shoulders, watch his head, watch the intention. He's not moving anything until he gets to that slant right, or that post right there. Slant's a little bit shorter. Post is more of the big one, the big one that goes all the way to the middle of the field, wherever you are, that 10, 12 yard vertical stem, and then you hit the post. Slants are usually 5 yards, 7 yards and in, and that post is usually a bit bigger. So from the slot here, he's going to sell it, and then he hits that post right here where he has everything working right here down the seam, and then up the middle of the field, and he's going to work to this defender right here, and when he makes contact, he's going to stop, turn on the brakes, and come back to the quarterback right there. Boom. Sends him flying. That's what you want to see. You want to see that intention to be able to get open, get into space, come back to the football, and then once again, he does something you just can't teach. These are things you cannot teach for a receiver. That awareness, that spatial awareness, and that ability to use your peripheral vision when this man is coming at you over from the middle of the field. He just dips out of the way and goes underneath and then around. When Brett Veach was talking about the yak potential, this is what he means. He's not necessarily saying he's a great yak mover in the open field, because he's not the best mover. He has awareness in space. And he's going to come into Kansas City not as the number one receiver with all the attention on him. All he's going to need to do is make that first man miss, and typically he will have more space around him. So I can understand the ability there to see that he's got some interesting aspects. Look, he nearly gets vertical to the ground with how far down he dips, and he bends those hips to be able to make that. Look at this. Look at this. He's literally almost head touching the ground. This is the kind of stuff that I really do think Brett Veach is talking about, and to be able to get vertical after that. So he has a lot of tools with the yak department that will make him a successful, at least short to intermediate threat. He can hit vertical, but again, he's not going to be in Kansas City to do all of that. But what he's going to also bring is a physicality in the blocking department. This isn't the best, the most physical. If you guys want to see more physicality from him on the blocking department, you go onto my Twitter at InHarmsWay19. We have I've got multiple clips of him doing it up there. But here it's a timing play. They're just trying to get the swing pass to the running back, and so he's got nobody out to his left. So what he's going to do, obviously, follow this man around here, and he's going to end up picking off two defenders and getting the running back in space. He's a smart blocker. He's a high effort blocker. And again, go to my Twitter page at InHarmsWay19 to get more of those blocking posts on there. But he is the best, you heard me right, the best blocking wide receiver in this draft class. Smart, he's physical, and he puts in a lot of work, a lot of effort. So I absolutely love that from Rashee Rice. And then this play here out wide, we're going to get into his route running a little bit more. Like I said in the opening, he's not the most dynamic player with his short area and his route running ability. It's extremely inconsistent. He's a little higher. He's kind of like Isaiah Pacheco as a runner. Isaiah Pacheco runs high hipped, which means that he stands very upright. His shoulders are square a lot of the times, and you don't see a lot of that short area in and outside to be able to make guys miss in open space. He really is more of I'm going to run over, break arm tackles kind of thing. And Rashee Rice has more of that in his route running ability. You're going to see him just going to run a little slant right, or little in right here, excuse me. And he's really more upright. It does tend to be more leaning that way with his route running, but he's more explosive off the ball in this specific route. He's going to get off here with this space. He does explode out, and then when that contact comes after he adjusts his route inside just a little bit, breaks off of it immediately and is able to get into that open space. So he does adjust his routes typically well, and against physicality, he will give that physicality back a lot of the times. Sometimes he will make it work, other times he won't. So there's an inconsistency in his ability to fight through contact, but you do see the willingness to work through contact, do all of that, and get off on the tape as well. Like I said, the explosiveness off the ball is inconsistent, but we do know that it's there to an extent as well. So always attacks the ball. That quick in at the very top of his route transition is smooth. It's quick. It's just high hipped. He doesn't really sink a lot, but you don't have to with some of these in breakers and out breakers. It's more of the coming back to the football breakers where the hip drop and the hip sink do tend to play in on him. But again, attack the ball. He does have a little bit of a jump at catch point a lot of times, mostly because the quarterback play again at SMU wasn't great. But in stride, he will continue to get yards after the catch and do everything you want from an intermediate route threat. I think this is really where the Chiefs will be able to use him a lot. And he'll make plays on back shoulder throws, much like Juju Smith-Schuster did. So if you want to consider him more of a Juju Smith-Schuster replacement and maybe comp him closer to that, I have absolutely no problems with that as well. We've got him out wide right here on the line of scrimmage. Here again, we've already seen X, Y, and Z in terms of where he's lining up. X, Z, and the slot. And he's got here on the line of scrimmage again. This is where we get to see some of that hip movement not really paying him much attention and not helping him out a lot. This is a timing throw. A lot of curls are typically timing throws where a quarterback is going to come back to you. But what you notice here is that he doesn't explode off the ball. There's one. Number one reason that this route doesn't work is because he does not explode off the ball. As a guy who's running a route, you have to, running a curl, really got to sell that verticality. Make these guys press off. You have typically two guys here that can now come on that break. So when you come off the ball and you're running a curl, you really do need to sell it vertically to let them know, look, I mean business. I'm trying to get you guys to clear out. And then you got to hit those hips, get down into it. So he doesn't explode off. And then he adds a couple of steps at the top of his route, which don't really help out the timing problem. All of this, like I said, the quarterback is reading from left to right, and he's going to come back to his right and throw the ball out and get it out on time. Curl has to be a time-based route. So this is where it all comes into play with the route running. You're going to see again, right there at the top, he just kind of slips out of it, and this ball is nearly intercepted because he's not to where the ball has to be on time. So route running, getting off the ball explosively, and then getting into your dips and getting into your route breaks at the top of your route are inconsistent from Rashee Rice. This is a systemic problem for him in all aspects of the game. From game to game, you will see inconsistencies in his ability to get out of those coming back to the football breaks. He's much better coming out of a slant or an in route or an out route, but anything where he has to come back to the football, you will see his feet slide out. He'll add more steps, and the legginess in his routes, in that stem without the explosion, will transfer into the rest of his game and cause problems in the timing. So that's something he's definitely going to have to work on. It can be worked through. It's not something I'm hugely worried about. He is a little bit of an older prospect. He was at the Senior Bowl, so he's got less time to really grow into his role. But he's a second round pick, so I'm not hugely worried about all of that. Now we've got him lined up in the slot with some off coverage, and these are some things that he's going to probably come in and be able to do well. In the red zone, he can use his frame, box out guys, but the biggest intention thing that I want to nail here is that he is very good at selling routes with his head and with his shoulders. He typically does not give away what he's doing, and even when the corner knows what he's going to get to, he can get out of those quicker breaks at the top right here. Again, he doesn't explode off the ball, but he is able to create a separation out of his break with what he does, selling it. Again, head, shoulders, everything vertical until the very last point where he breaks and he gets out, fights through that contact, doesn't go down, comes down with the touchdown. So he will, like I said, he will typically fight through his contact to make catches, but you'll also see him get walled up in man coverage on press against X-based corners where they're going to physically put, hands on you and get you to the outside to that boundary line and force you out of bounds. Watch as he's able to try to fight through that. I don't necessarily think you'll see a ton of that in the NFL, but it did come up multiple times in the Maryland game where he was playing Jacorian Bennett and Deonte Banks, where they were playing more physically and they could get him outside. But again, attacking the ball in the air. This is the kind of stuff that's going to be able to come into play. One of those things that really translates well is ball adjustment, body coordination, body control, attacking the football in the air with your hands, being able to extend everywhere around you. The catch radius for Rashee Rice is very good. He can catch the football anywhere. I know he had some drop concerns coming out. I base it more to the fact that the quarterback play was so inconsistent and he was constantly having to readjust his body through contact and make difficult catches all the time. So again, we see him here against the Maryland Terrapins, I believe, and he is again adjusting his route right there in the middle through that zone and being able to find that ball down the field. All things that he really does well. When I mean route adjustments, is they're going to break out into a zone right here, and he's going to drop in the middle. This defender here is going to end up widening just a little bit. So there's a seam here between the two defenders. He was going to try and go vertical here, but instead he's going to adjust, go vertical, and then break out to the right there. So he ends up being almost in man against this coverage safety right here. And that's what it ends up being. Again, you in his zone. So he's going to break behind that underneath defender number 9 right there and get in the middle. Right here he sees, okay, I've got 4 guys around me, so I need to find a way to get out and get into space. My quarterback is going to get out of the pocket. Let me get into space and make something happen. So once again, as a quarterback gets out of the pocket, you will typically see, defenders with eyes start to go that way. So Rashee Rice, she's like, okay, I'm going to come over here. There's nobody here, and I have a trailing defender that I can outrun horizontally. I can do that. I'm open. I can make an adjustment on the throw. He does it, sacrifices the body to get through there and make a nice play on the football for a first down. For actually a big play, not just a first down, a big play. So again, this is all going to show you that he can do a lot of things in the short to intermediate, maybe the intermediate / deeper parts of the field, but getting into space, adjusting his route path, and then finding that space and being available to your quarterback are all things that we know Patrick Mahomes loves about receivers. So good job right there on Rashee Rice getting there, catching that football. And then we can get into a couple of the things that he does probably better than almost anybody in this draft class is finding that football, body control, adjustment, ball tracking, and of course attacking the football in the air, making some tough grabs. He is more of adjusting his speed and his route stem here. He's not the most explosive off the ball, like we've mentioned quite a few times, but he's using a little of speed dilation. So he's kind of lulling that corner to sleep off the ball, and then he accelerates through. You can see there that he does not separate downfield, but that doesn't matter. The ball's underthrown anyway. It's thrown underneath where Rashee Rice is on the field and in between the slot defender and then the incoming Deonte Banks, where he's going to go back and reach that football behind his head right there. Deonte Banks is literally breaking on that football right here. And again, he is a fantastic player with the ball in the air. And what I really like about this is that Deonte Banks is coming for that football at the catch point, and so he snatches it and then brings it to his body immediately so that Banks has zero ability to come and get that. So once again, out of the slot on the left-hand side, going up the seam, coming down with this in traffic with guys all around him, ball tracking, eyes, hand coordination at the catch point are all really excellent. That's why I'm not really worried about his ability and why the drops don't concern me a ton. I think it's more about the accuracy of the football from the quarterback. And then we get to more of the body control right here. He's in the slot on the bottom of your screen. And he is, again, just going to fight through a little bit of interesting ball placement from the quarterback and getting to the outside here. He comes back down around. He has to stop. He lifts himself in the air because he's a very smart player, okay? As he understands, he's coming from here and going to the sideline, all right? The ball should really typically be thrown near the sideline where he's breaking to. Instead, it's thrown more of where he is actually at right here. So he knows my momentum is stopping. So I have defenders close. How do I prevent them from getting to that football and being able to knock it away from me? I'm going to go up in the air. I'm going to box this man out, make it so he can't do anything to get to the football, and then I can control everything else. He pushes him, but he gets both feet in bounds. He gets both feet down in bounds. That's something that's really, really impressive. There's that body control and awareness. Again, from Rashee Rice. Right here, he's looking down at the ground, eyes at the ground. Where do I have to get? Where do I have to get my feet in? All that stuff, body control at the sideline, in the air, the adjustment, the hands through the air, hands through contact, all that translates into the NFL. But a couple of things that Brett Veach was talking about specifically were his ability to go and make these contested grabs and his yak ability. So all of this translates. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch how the Chiefs end up using him in Kansas City, what role he fills. I would imagine he does fill that Juju Smith-Schuster role. And the reason I think that is because, again, he's not the best separator in the world, but he has the ability to adjust to the football in the air. He tracks it really well, and we saw Patrick Mahomes work on Juju Smith-Schuster's back shoulder throws and his adjustments in the air with those. So I'm really excited to see him in Kansas City and what he's going to be able to do with everything that he has at his disposal. So Rashee Rice is going to come in here, be a good role player early. He's not the most refined receiver. He's got some issues to work through, but all of those aside, the contested catches, his ability to make the first man miss a lot are things that the Chiefs can definitely use. And just imagine Andy Reid scheming him into space against one man, and where you have Travis Kelce around him, where you have Kadarius Toney around him, and you have MVS bringing safeties and stuff over the top. So I like the fit. It was a little bit of an overdraft for me personally. I had Rashee Rice in the 3rd round, but when you consider the fit, I'm not really upset with them going to get their guy. There is some room to work with him. He's going to come in and be a good floor-based player with his blocking, his contested catches, and his yak ability. He has some room to make impact and improvements on his route running, which are really going to make him a more impactful player in Kansas City. So all things considered, I'm happy with the pick, what he's going to end up doing in Kansas City, because those things that he has that are unteachable, I think can be really useful to this offense. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the draft coverage that we had. We'll continue to pump out more content. Ryan's going to go over Wanya Morris. I already have Felix and Enudike Uzama done from earlier last month. I'm going to get cracking on Chamari Connor. And we got all the draft coverage. We have all the videos, all the content for you guys coming. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll let him take you guys out on this sideline grab. So please have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.